Okay, so today's lesson is going to be out of our Science Fusion, and it's pages 459 to page 472. And this is going to be a guided lesson, so pretty much I'm going to take the thinking out of it for you. Just kidding. I want you to think on your own and try to maybe come up with your own. So we're going to collaborate together. All right, the first thing is it's called what is an ecosystem? So I want you to answer this question. These three organisms, see here, bear, fish, duck, bird, whatever, share the same living space. But what non-living elements do they need to survive? Well, look in the picture. What's one that you see that was on our list for abiotic? Okay, so you need water. They need air to breathe. And they need light. The light, they just need to live so they can see kind of where they're going and survive. But each of the actual animals has its own different way of obtaining what it actually needs from the ecosystem. Okay, so like the bear has different needs than the fish does, and the fish has different needs than the bird does. Okay, all right, lesson vocabulary. Flip through your vocabulary or your packet and look for your vocabulary words. This is the easiest part of the whole packet. I'm going to write mine for you so you can see if you have the right ones. Ecosystem. Habitat. So far I have environment, community, ecosystem, habitat, population, and niche. It's an interesting word. All right, let's flip the page. I know sometimes I have it read to you, but I'm going to go and read to you. And if I'm yawning, yes, it's because it's 5:15 p.m. and I'm really tired already. I've been here since 4 this morning. Okay, what is an ecosystem? A frog that lives in a pond couldn't survive in a desert or on a mountaintop. But could you live in a swamp? The swamp environment is made up of non-living and living elements. The climate, abundance of water, moist air, muddy soils, and shady areas are all abiotic, okay, parts that make swamps different from other environments. All right, an organism's environment is all the living and non-living things that surround and affect the organism. You are surrounded by many things that make your environment suitable for you to live in. What would be true if you lived in a swamp? Environments include biotic parts and abiotic parts. Biotic parts, I want you to underline this, are the living elements in an environment, which is your plants, animals, and other organisms. Abiotic parts are the non-living elements. The abiotic parts of an environment include the climate, water, soil, light, air, and nutrients. Oh, you can't see that. Okay, so underline those things. Those are your two definitions for biotic and abiotic, which we've talked about yesterday, but we're going to continue to talk about them. I want those words to be part of your normal English dictionary, your normal English language. Okay, especially if you go into middle school and you're saying words like biotic and abiotic, and then they're going to be like, oh, dang, you had a really awesome science teacher. And then you just tell them, oh, yeah, I so did. All right. White. Yeah, this is fun. Ibis. White. Ibis. Whatever. White something birds, black bears, willow trees, blackberry bushes, pitcher plants, and mosquitoes are all biotic parts of a cypress swamp environment. The abiotics of an environment have an important role. Temperature and amount of water affect which plants and animals can live in a place. Okay, that makes sense because I can't put a polar bear in the middle of the desert. He'll die. And that word, ibis, is adapted to living in warm, wet swamp and cannot survive in a hot, dry desert. Makes sense. An ecosystem includes all the organisms. Remember, organisms are living or have lived. Includes all the organisms living in a place in addition to their environment. So an ecosystem can be huge, such as a large forest or desert, or it can be small, such as a mud puddle or a single bush. Each ecosystem has its own collection of living and non-living elements. All right, look at this swamp. Use a computer. We're not doing that. Okay. Turn the page. All right, populations and communities. You are part of a group of students in your classroom. There are other classes in your school too, and other groups of people, such as teachers and your favorite teacher. Together, you make up your school's community. Other organisms live in communities too. Each ecosystem contains different groups of living things. Observe the picture showing several pieces of animals sharing water in a savanna ecosystem. A group of organisms of the same species or kind of living thing in an ecosystem is called a population. For example, a savanna ecosystem may contain a population of zebras as well as populations of gazelles and lions. It also contains populations of grasses and trees. The different populations that share an ecosystem make up a community. A community consists of all the populations that live and interact in the area. So if you're not quite sure, let's go back to my chicken scenario. So I have chickens in my backyard. That's the population. The community is the backyard they live in because the community is made up of trees, squirrels, bugs, insects. What else did we say today? The humans, us that go out there and play with them, my plants, I have a little garden out there in the springtime. So all of that makes up the community. These moral eels are part of a population of eels sharing the same living space. The crack in the rock will hold only so many eels. And at a certain point, the eels must compete for this living space. So there's that word competition that we had earlier in our vocabulary this week. So if this little rock space, let's see if we can open this up. So that's a whole, if this little rock space, only so many eels can fit in here. So these eels are going to have to fight each other to be able to hide in there. So can you tell me or think of one reason why the eel or eel, whatever you want to say it, should fight for a hidden space? Probably for protection from whoever their predator is, okay? That's what I would think. All right. These plants and animals are part of the community that lives in an ecosystem. Each population competes with other populations for the resource in the ecosystem. All right, so if there's a whole bunch of zebras, and let's say the zebras eat the gazelles, I don't know if they do, I'm just saying that they did. First of all, they probably all wouldn't be hanging out drinking water, but if the zebras ate the gazelles and there was 2 gazelles and 10 zebras, who you think's going to win? The stronger one. I mean, they're going to fight each other for that gazelle. All right. In winter, a population of bison must work to find food. So as resources become scarce, that means scarce means thin, like resources start going away. There's not a lot left. There's only a little bit of food. Bison within the population will compete with each other. Same thing, okay? They're going to compete. They're going to fight. And humans do that too. If there's one French fry left and there's 3 of us that love French fries, are we going to compete for it? Probably so. I mean, it's nature, okay? I know I'm not giving that French fry up. All right, do the math. Well, we'll try. Bison graze on grass. It takes 5 acres of grass to feed 2 bison for a season. How much land would be needed to support 100 bison for a season? Yeah, okay. I'm tired, but I'll try. All right. So 5 acres feeds 2 bison. So I can divide that, and I get 2.5. So 2.5 bison, no, 1 bison can eat on 2.5 acres of land. Okay. So if I have 2.5 acres times 100 bison, okay, now I got to do it up and down. 2.5. If I mess this up, don't laugh at me. Well, I know, well, we'll just do it this way. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 1 is 5. Placeholder. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 1. Add it all up. 2500. Bring down the decimal. All right. So how much land would be needed to support 100 bison just for one season? 250 acres. Look, I did the math. I didn't blow it off this time. Okay. Oops, Elle would be proud. All right. Organisms that make up populations live and survive in their ecosystems by interacting with living and non-living elements. Populations in every ecosystem need food, water, shelter, and a space to live. Okay, we talked about, I'm going to stop right there. We talked about this yesterday with the chickens, okay? They live in the ecosystem, and my ecosystem in my backyard not only consists of the living elements that we talked about, the chickens, the humans, the birds, the squirrels, the trees, all that, but they also interact with the non-living, which is the abiotic things. Their house, their little chicken house, my chicken house, because not my chicken house, I mean my house, the air conditioning unit that they like to sit on at night, they interact with the sun. They need the sun. They interact with the, I'm really tired, y'all. The rain when it rains, okay? They interact with the water that we give them. So in an ecosystem, that's where the abiotic and the biotic come together and they support each other. All right, so the interaction between populations to meet needs is called competition. Populations that compete and obtain enough resources will survive. Those that cannot compete will not survive in the ecosystem. Because there's only enough food, water, shelter, and space to support a certain number of organisms, these resources are called limiting factors. So, you ever heard that saying, only the survival, only the fittest, only the survival of the fittest? Okay, that means like the strongest ones win. Competition also occurs within populations. The stronger individuals in a population are the ones that get the most food and take the best shelter for themselves. Weaker individuals may not survive. Dude, humans are just like this, okay? If I'm stronger than you, I'm going to win, and I'm going to get that food. I'm going to get that money. I'm going to go out and make that money. Knowledge is power, and I say that all the time. If I have the knowledge to, let's say, run a better campaign. Let's say I was going to run for class president, and I had the knowledge to run a better campaign. I'm going to win. And I will tell you, I'm a very competitive person. Y'all know this. We were number 1 in the district and number 2 in the district on our CBAs because I refused to quit. I'm stronger than the other schools. Jefferson only won this time because they're bigger than us. They have more people, but that's okay. We were number 2, and we'll take it. But I am stronger because I don't stand for weakness. Okay, I just don't. All right, next page. Find your niche. Maybe you have to share your room, your clothes, or snacks with your family members. Organisms that live in the same ecosystem often compete for available resources. That we've already been covering. An organism's habitat is the place where it lives within an ecosystem. Several populations often live in a single habitat. For example, barred owls and red-shouldered hawks live in habitats with woods, nearby open country, and bodies of water. An organism's niche is its complete role or function in its ecosystem. A niche is different from a habitat because it includes everything an organism needs to live. An organism's niche includes living and non-living elements such as its food as well as the climate it thrives in. Okay, so this panda has a narrow niche in terms of food. Its diet consists mainly of bamboo, so pandas cannot live in a habitat where bamboo does not grow. Makes sense. But Bayard, whatever, owls and red-shouldered hawks share a habitat, but they have different niches. How is this so? Okay, so how do they have different niches? Well, we can say that they eat different prey, so they have different prey. Do we know anything about when they hunt? What do you think? What do you think you know about owls and hawks when they hunt? So owls we know are night owls. That's why we call them night owls. Owls hunt at night, and hawks hunt by day. Every organism has a niche. Having different niches allows organisms to live in the same habitat. So I'll stop right there. When I don't like vegetables, I hate vegetables. And Brooke, my daughter, loves vegetables. So if we go to Olive Garden and they bring us the bread and the salad, it's okay. We're happy because she wants to eat the salad. I want to eat the bread, and we're not fighting. We're not competing. Okay? So that's kind of what it's talking about right there, the different niches. So yeah, we live in the same environment, and her and I love Olive Garden, but it's okay. It works out because I don't want to eat her salad, and she may only want one of my bread, but because she knows she's eating all the salad, she won't really ask for it. So it works. All right. So when an organism has a very specific way of living, it has a narrow niche. For example, a bird that eats just one type of insect or lives in only one kind of tree has a narrow niche, while an animal that can eat many kinds of food has a broad niche. Organisms with a narrow niche tend to live in specific places, while those with a broad niche often move around large areas. Populations can share a habitat, but not share the same niche. Red-shouldered hawks and Bayard owls, for example, share a habitat, but they have different niches. Hunks, Hawks hunt by day and owls hunt at night, hunting different prey. If the two populations of organisms shared a niche, they must compete for resources. So, going back up here, if these two things only wanted the salad at Olive Garden, then they would be fighting over the salad. If they only liked the breadsticks, who's going to get the last breadstick? The stronger one. The weaker one ain't. You think I'll let Brooke have that last breadstick? You crazy. All right. Suppose a bird is the only animal in a habitat that eats a certain type of berry. The berries are the bird's only food. Okay. Describe how this narrow niche could be both good and bad for the bird. So, how could it be good? It could compete less with other animals. So, we'll put competition would be less, right? Because if I only like this one red berry, but all the other animals around me, they have like a broader appetite, then it's cool. Like they won't touch my berries and I won't touch their stuff and we'll be fine. But if I only eat this red berry, and let's say it didn't rain as much this year as it did last year, what if my berries didn't come into season? Like what if they just didn't produce? Then what happens? I have no food. So the good would be, the competition would be less, so we'll put good here. The bad would be less food due to other conditions. Okay, like due to other conditions. So if you don't understand the berries, let me say it a different way. Corn. We all know what corn looks like. We all know that it grows in these big giant stalks in cornfields. So if I'm a bird that only eats corn, and the area that I live, I fly to the same farm every year, eat my corn. Well, I would have plenty of corn, especially if I'm the only bird in this whole area that just likes corn. Because if I have other animals in my area and they like corn and a whole bunch of other stuff, they're probably just going to eat whatever they can find that they like. However, I like my corn. I'm the only one that eats corn solely. And now there's a drought. So it didn't rain this summer at all. And the farmers' crops didn't grow. And there's no corn. And now I'm starving. So that's the good and the bad with this specific having a niche. Okay. Sharks have a broad niche in terms of food. They are able to eat many different foods. We know sharks will eat anything. Kind of like my chickens. My chickens will eat anything and everything. They even eat chicken. All right. Diversity. Suppose all the shelves in your grocery store held only one kind of food. So in my son's world, Shane, he only likes Pop-Tarts. That's it. So you couldn't stay healthy for long. Ecosystems need diversity too. Same with him. He's not staying healthy for very long. All right. The word diverse means different in kind. Diversity is the variety of different species that live in an ecosystem. An ecosystem that is diverse contains a lot of species. Ecosystems without much diversity are inhabited by only a few species. Why is diversity important? All organisms rely on other organisms for resources. Their relationships are modeled in a large, complex web. The more types of organisms in an ecosystem, the larger the web, and the more resources available. This coral reef is a diverse ecosystem. Many populations live closely together here. See all the different types of fish and the different types of plants and coral reef. A rainforest is a diverse ecosystem. The warm temperatures and high rainfall support many different populations. So in here, there's a whole bunch of animals you can't even see, and bugs and plants and all kinds of stuff. The cold Arctic is a less diverse ecosystem. The polar bear is one of a small number of large organisms that can actually survive there. So if you had to think of all the animals that you know that live in the Arctic, you could probably count them all on one or just two hands. Okay, it's not like thousands and different species. There's only a few that can actually survive that cold temperature. So why are some ecosystems very diverse while others have only a small number of species? Climate and location affect the amount of types of resources that are available for organisms. Locations of high diversity make a pattern in the map. In general, very diverse ecosystems, such as coral reefs and rainforests, are found near the equator. The farther away from the equator, the less diverse environments tend to be. Other things can affect diversity as well. Humans can damage ecosystems and reduce the number of species living in them. Activities such as overhunting may lower the numbers of important species. In some areas, humans have destroyed forests or other environments in order to build highways, cities, and other structures. Species in those environments have lost their habitats, and diversity has decreased. So let's predict some habitat change. Describe how you think building a large shopping mall and a parking lot might affect the diversity of a forest. So, I'm trying to think of an area in Temple where there's a lot of trees. Well, if you just think of a forest, right, and it's all full of thousands of different kinds of animals, and some developers like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to build a shopping mall and a parking lot and a whole bunch of restaurants. Where do you think all them living things are going to go? Like, you're going to cut all the trees down because you have to. So what's going to happen to all the animals? and the bugs and the snakes and all that. They're all going to go away. So our habitats would be destroyed. And animal homes homes will be lost. Sad. Very sad. So ecosystems that are close to the equator tend to have a lot of diversity. Ecosystems further from the equator tend to be less diverse. So, this is interesting. So we talked about last week temperate climates, tropical and Arctic. So the closer you get to the equator is where all your rainforests and stuff. I remember I was talking about Puerto Rico and all that. So Puerto Rico and all those areas are down here. And that's getting closer to the equator. So if you look all the way across the Earth, if you took the map and folded it out, this is what you would see. All of these spaces that are colors are all of where you find more habitats because it's more rainforesty. It's all coming together. All right, let's sum it up. The words in the ovals describe elements of a desert ecosystem. Draw lines to show whether each part is biotic or abiotic. All right, cactus. Is that biotic or abiotic? A rattlesnake. Sunlight. Sandy soil. A lizard. And little water. All right, fill in the blanks with words from the word box. Use each word once. So you should only use each word once. An organism's blank includes all the living and non-living elements that surround and affect the organism. An organism's environment. Each different blank is an area made up of biotic and abiotic factors where organisms interact. Okay, that's looking at our chart that I made the other day. That's our ecosystem. Because the important part of this word is that the biotic and abiotic factors where organisms interact. Within these areas, groups of the same species of an organism or populations interact with other organisms, forming a large community. Chickens, backyards, everything in my backyard. Us too. Houses, ecosystems, everything. All right, the place where an organism normally lives is called its habitat. The way the organism lives there is called its specific niche. Okay. All right, wordplay. Use the words in the box to complete the puzzle. Let's go across, 3 across. The average weather in an area over time. 3 o'clock. Is that climate or weather? Well, here's your word bank. The average weather, climate. 5 across, down here. Let's cross this off. The variety of a species in an ecosystem. So variety, that would be diversity. And 6 across, non-living. I'll give you a hint. Is it biotic or abiotic? Abiotic. All right, 1 down. Living. Biotic. the struggle for resources in an ecosystem. You're down to competition and limiting. And this is 2 down. Competition. Make sure you spell these right or they won't work. And then last one, the type of factor that determines the size of a population. That is your limiting. Okay, so use the 3 crosswords to write a sentence. You've got climate, diversity, and abiotic. So here, I'll come up with one, but I want you to come up with your own. Climate is one abiotic part of an ecosystem that can affect diversity. That's my sentence. Make up your own. Don't steal mine. Okay, apply concepts. Number 2, draw an organism and its habitat. I'm going to draw my chickens. This is so sad. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Here's its little house. Here's we have a little door that opens up. Here's some trees. Here's a bird. Anyway, here's me playing with the chickens. All right. List 3 abiotic factors that are in your environment right now. So what are some things that are abiotic that are in our environment right now? So we have our house. Okay. And we have what? Can we say the temperature outside? What about light? I'm going to put some more here. Water, air. Okay. All right. Select an organism in this lesson. Explain how it lives and survives in the ecosystem by interacting with the living and non-living elements. So I'm going to look at these bison. And the bison needs, what was that math thing that we did? Bison needs grass. Actually, 2.5 acres, right? Acres of grass per season. All right, explain how it lives and survives in its ecosystem by interacting with the living. Okay, so the grass I know is living. It's biotic because it grows back. And it also needs the air. It needs air, which is abiotic. So I want you guys to come up with your own. You're supposed to find an organism in this lesson, something that we've already learned about. All right, draw a line from the organism to the ecosystem it would most likely live in. A warm, wet swamp. A grassy prairie. A snowy Arctic Ocean area. All right. Quest for the serpent eagle. Jane Juniper is a wildlife surveyor. She is deep in the forest of Madagascar, an island off the coast of Africa, observing birds. What's that sound? Jane hears a loud screeching bird call that she never expected to hear. It sounds like. But could it be? Jane tiptoes quietly through the forest, searching the trees for movement. There! Jane stands perfectly still. The bird has a dark back and a striped chest. It has yellow eyes and a sharp talons. But it's not supposed to exist. Jane Juniper has studied all about African birds. It takes her just a moment to be sure, but she's still amazed. With her camera, she collects evidence of her find. Jane Juniper, wildlife surveyor, found a bird that was thought to be extinct, a Madagascar serpent eagle. Imagine you're a wildlife surveyor. Survey the forest below. Write the kinds of animals you find and number each kind. Oh, that's fun. So, for instance, there's a snake. I see a snake. So I can write snake. And I believe I only see one. I could be wrong. Actually, I think I am wrong. I think there's three. One, two. Three. Okay, what else do I see? Birds. Okay, I'm going to help you find the animals and identify them, but you need to go find the numbers of them. Oh, ladybugs. Snails. I see turtles. I see lizards. I see butterflies. I see deer. I see raccoons. And I see a squirrel. Now, you need to go and add them up. How many ladybugs do you see? I see 4. 3 snakes, and then count up the birds and all the other ones. Once you're done, turn it in. All right. Goodbye.